Welcome, everyone, to a special episode of Off Base. We are not going to be breaking down a specific Sorare slate on this show, as I usually do with Nick. We're going to be talking some general Sorare strategy, and I'm here with a familiar face, Nick Mitchell. He does Sorare content on his Substack Ethersport, and we are joined today with a special guest, Alex Hooper, over at Sorare FP. He recently created the Sorare FP app, and we'll go ahead and introduce Alex. Alex, how's it going?
Good, fellas. It's better now that we've finally connected. I obviously love this game so much, but I love the community, and I get tired of just me staring at my camera. So I'm very excited. I'm very excited to be hanging out with y'all. It's a long time overdue, and my fault, but I'm glad we're doing it.
No, this is going to be good, and I get the whole shouting into the void thing, so it's good to have a couple people to talk to.
Yeah, no, it's nice to formally meet you, Alex. I remember when I was first getting to Sorare, I was looking up some YouTube videos for some information, and I found your videos right away. I mean, you're at the top. You got the SEO going down there, so I watched a ton of your videos when I was writing some stuff for Lucky Trader for Sorare. It's nice to finally meet you, and I'm a big fan of your content and a big fan of this app that you just dropped. And we can start off with that. I mean, it's pretty cool. I was checking it out. Tons of helpful stuff there. So if you want to elaborate on how this app came to be and sort of more details about that, that'd be great.
Yeah. So it's something that I've wanted to do since the inception of, FP, which, FP started as a brainchild of myself and Keith Jamison. He goes by Gator Guy 231. He mostly does soccer stuff, and he was doing soccer DFS content for a long time. That's how I got into really anything beyond season-long fantasy at all, was through soccer DFS, and it kind of brought us together. And he actually was the realtor that helped me buy this house. And then we started FP together, and it was something that I wanted to do for a really long time. But I literally this morning finished a course on Python. I am not a programmer. I'm not a coder. And I've had a couple of people be like, hey, are you planning on building an app? And I'm like, yeah, eventually, once we have enough income to where, I have operating expenses and I can pay a programmer to do it, then yeah, we'll do it. And it was just kind of down the line. And then it finally broke through when a fellow his name's Bastion, Captain No Sweat on Sorare and in our Discord. He came to me and he was like, hey, I've been building an app, essentially. He's like, I code in my free time. He's a commercial pilot in the Netherlands. So that's what he does in the day. And then he lands and he starts just coding this app for me. I didn't ask him, and he had already made so much progress. And then we kind of picked it up in the middle, and I just kind of guided him towards, what I wanted to see. Some of the things were obvious, I'm providing projections already in a spreadsheet, but we wanted to make it more user friendly. And he just started to do it. And, I guided him, and he won't let me compensate him to the degree that I want to compensate him, because he just has fun doing it. And so, I mean, really, this is all, I cannot thank him enough. It's just the brand or whatever that this community has kind of created that's glommed onto really what is his app. And I am beyond thankful. So that's how we got here. In the app, basically, we bring you my proprietary projections that I've been selling for a while, which even when we started FP, I did not have a plan to sell anything. It was a YouTube channel, and then someone asked me, and I put it on Patreon, and then we've grown and grown and grown over the course of a year almost. So it was the All-Star break last year. So we've got the projections, we've got season-long projections, we've got a lineup builder. That's where we're at this point. There's more functionality in there than that, but basically what you're getting is an easy to use lineup builder with my projections. I know there is a lineup builder from Sorare Data, and they use RotoWire's projections, and those are fine. And some people don't even like using projections, and that is fine. But if you like to use projections or even just look at them, then that's what we got for you. And then obviously the community, I think, is where people most benefit with us. But yeah, the app is so cool, and I'm I'm going to say this, even though I don't know fully that it works, but I'm rolling out a 7-day free trial of the app. So patreon.com/Sorare FP is where you find it. I don't know for sure that the free trial is going to connect to the app. I shouldn't be saying anything and like falsely promising any of this, but I'm pretty sure we'll have a free trial coming soon. So, and y'all have gotten to see it too. So I'm very glad to be able to share it with y'all, and people care about this game a ton. So a little long, but yes.
No, I wanted to jump in here because, well, my dog says hi first, but as like a project manager by trade, I hopped into the app and I was like, oh, I like this. It's simple, it's easy, it all makes sense, it's all laid out nicely. Like you didn't overbuild anything, and you can build on it as you go. Like I was super stoked when I hopped in. So very well done. I don't know how you got a coder that doesn't sleep and he just flies and codes and codes and flies, but that's amazing. And it's a really cool story, actually. So kudos to both of you, really.
Yeah, he's the best. I literally could not have done it without him. So I tried to tell him how much he means to me, and he's just a chill dude. He's like, yeah, and then, but he's the nicest guy on the planet, and I'm so thankful for him. So
that's awesome.
Awesome. Yeah. No, pilot / coder. I mean, that's a pretty awesome combination we got there.
Right.
But yeah, so tell us how can you get access to the app? Like, is it you have to subscribe to Patreon, and there's different levels, and sort of tell the people how that part works.
Yeah, we have a $5 tier. That's just the veteran tier, and that'll get you the spreadsheet. There's a Google sheet and a spreadsheet, which it's a little convoluted. I don't know any other way. I am not good at making user-friendly spreadsheets. But
I sense a collaboration in our future.
Hey, there you go, man. That would be very helpful. I just list things that make sense to me, and so that's there. And we do have an explainer, so it's easy enough to pick up. And then $10 is where you get pretty much everything else. That's the all-star tier. You get access to the Discord, which is full of players who have been on this platform since day one and have won even a lot more than me. I mean, I've literally never won a contest, and we had, I think, 7 wins in the first 3 game weeks of the season, like first place. And I'm not taking credit for that. That's all them. But those guys who know how to win are there. So, but you also get the app access through that $10 tier. So that's where you get it. And then there is a $50 a month tier, which is there to entice anybody who just doesn't want to do any sort of work. And I will meet with you and lead your gallery. And believe it or not, someone bought one for NBA, and we wrote it out. But yeah, just the $10 tier is where you get the most, get the most value. But yeah,
that's awesome. And you were kind enough to let us into the Discord, so we got to kind of hang out a little bit in there, and it is awesome.
Like I said, I'm all about the community, and y'all are very much a big part of this community, and we got a lot of great people in there. So it's a win-win for everybody. I have no problem with that.
Yeah, no, Discord's been great, and Sorare MLB community in general is a great community from what I've seen. Yeah, so I guess what I want to go into next, I feel like I know Nick's background enough. We talk a lot on off base. I'm kind of curious on your sort of background with fantasy, Alex. I think you mentioned you played DFS back in the day, at least to some extent. Are you big into season long, or were you? Do you still play? And sort of what is your experience through fantasy, and how did it lead up to Sorare?
Yeah, I've been playing fantasy baseball since I was 10. I didn't, really, I've been a huge baseball fan all my life, and I didn't think too deep into the strategy when I was 10, obviously. That didn't really happen. I didn't really start thinking about fantasy on that level until, like I said, the pandemic, I got into DFS soccer, and I played pretty much specifically DFS soccer. And by doing that, I listened to Andrew Laird and Jordan Cooper on the RotoWire Soccer Show. And then Andrew Laird started reading the Sorare ads. They started doing ads on the RotoWire Soccer Show because they were a soccer-only platform at that point. And, it seemed like a pretty steep barrier to entry. And then I actually got a part-time job at Prize Picks, and I could no longer play DFS. So I took my DFS winnings over to Sorare because I was like, all right, if I want to have some outlet for my soccer. And then when they launched baseball, I like liquidated all of my soccer players because I wasn't great at it. I was grinding out thresholds, which is not a thing in baseball. But yeah, I was grinding out, like $15 a game week or trying. And I was fully on board when the baseball product dropped. So that's kind of how I got here. And then obviously when NBA started running, we started doing projections for that too. But yeah, I've been a baseball guy my entire life. I mean, and I played basketball growing up, but baseball was always my first love. And then when I graduated college, I worked at 92.3 The Fan in Cleveland, and I eventually became the Cleveland Indians beat reporter in the 2017 season. So I got to be around the team in 17-18, and that was right around the boom of the modern day StatCast and like going mainstream with all of those numbers. So I kind of tried to position myself as a writer who looked at that sort of stuff, and that's also what interested me. So when Sorare MLB came out, the reason I wanted to do something with it and be kind of like first to market with it is I felt like I had a good knowledge base where I'm like, I can look at this stuff and this is what front offices are looking at. And I can find some hidden value. And that was always my angle, was like the Moneyball aspect of it. And if you watch my stuff, I do a lot of like, now's the time to buy, now's the time to sell sort of stuff, buy low, sell high, all of that. So yeah, I've never felt, I don't know this. I don't mean to sound like, if this sounds braggy or anything, that's not how I'm intending it to sound. It's just like how I view myself, I guess. Like I never felt like my own skill set was ever tied to so well to something as this. So I don't know. I just kind of fell face first into it because I was already on the platform when it launched. And I mean, everything else, like I said, everything else has been kind of on accident. I was not planning on selling projections, but I talked about them on some of my shows. And someone's like, can you sell your projections? I'll give you this amount. And it ended up being what the all-star tier was. And I was like, all right. And then it just kind of, like I said, it grew from there. So yeah. But yeah, that's me.
Cool. Yeah, I had no idea you were the beat reporter for the Indians. That's actually really cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Must have been some great experience there.
It was fun, but it pays poverty wages. So if you ever know a kid who's like, I want to be a sports broadcaster, I've had people ask me, and my answer is always, don't do it. It's fun. It was great. I got a lot of cool shots and stories, but yeah, that was it. But
yeah, interesting. So I guess I want to ask you about your own play in Sorare. Sort of what sort of tiers do you play in? Do you have any unique cards? Do you have mostly super rare? What's your favorite tier to play in, and kind of what's the strategy that you use there?
So this year, I mentioned the Moneyball thing, and I didn't come to the platform with a ton of money. And then I had to gradually work my way into MLB because I was, moving money over, and, I didn't sell everything immediately. So I started at the limited tier and move up. Luckily, the Patreon allowed me to take some money and kind of get into super rare in the off season. So super rare is where my focus is. My rare gallery is much better, but I was able to use my projections and find players in the super rare level who weren't going to break the bank, because I'm sure y'all have seen what some of the prices look like over there, and it's pretty price prohibitive, especially at a certain point. So again, I was forced to Moneyball at a different tier, and that's kind of where I wound up. But yeah, the income allowed me to spruce up my rares a little bit during the course of the season too, and then I stopped using the income from the Patreon on Sorare cards. But so I play in super rare. I got lucky. I got so lucky. I bought just enough cards so I could play all-star with, the minimum amount of super rare cards, and then have a lineup of pro just in case. I was second in All-Star early on, and I was in first until like literally the bottom of the eighth of the Sunday night game. Rafael Devers hit a homer. It was literally the only thing that could have happened in that game to stop me from winning. And it did happen. So I finished second. That was my first podium ever on Sorare. And then I won Julio Arias. I sold him and was able to get Luis Castillo for the same price, which ended up being kind of a boon with the way that Arias is pitched. Although
Yeah, that's a win.
Yeah, Castillo's been rough lately. But yeah, I was surprised that I could make that turnaround. So literally the next game week, my Super Rare Pro team finished second. And I'm talking like, I mean, these are my throwaways. That roster was, I think Lance Lynn put up like a 45. Spencer Steer put up a 70. I don't remember what the rest of it looked like, but I finished second, which like that's a high level tier 2 and $500. And so I got Kyle Schwarber and $500, and I used the 500 to get like some solid rares. I think Matt Olson and Xander Bogaerts. And so like that really set me off. So I had 2 really good weeks in super rare. And then my rare team, I've just kind of been churning and using as a supplement to my super rare team. So a lot of times my best rares are in super rare, which is much harder to win. So it's something that I've been evaluating and how I want to play it, especially ever since, the rare AL and NL contest moved to single scarcity. And
that's what I was going to ask you, but keep going.
Yeah. So I will ask you guys how you view this, because some weeks I prioritize Rare Pro because I'm like, I want to win super rares. And some weeks, and again, granted, my best rares are always in my super rare all-star team. I prioritize that, even though, I can't win ETH there. And the best I can do is high level tier 2, which is fine. But there was one week recently where I just tossed my Brave stack. I think I might have been against the A's recently. I tossed my Brave stack in rare NL, and they didn't play well the one, series of the season where they didn't absolutely smash. But yeah, so I don't know. I don't know how to go about that. I don't even know if I should be playing my best rares in Super Rare All-Star, because it's such a tough contest to win. And like, if I finish 12th, I get like a tier 5, and it's like, all right, what am I doing? So.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. Nick's
That's
probably
a
better
question.
Yeah. Nick, did you want to ask Alex anything? I know you play in sort of those similar tiers, maybe not super rare, but you play in rare.
Yeah. So maybe before we get into like our strategy on that, like, have you noticed a difference in, I would call it probably balance, and then like your liquidity of rewards in super rare versus rare? Because that's actually been one of the main things that holds me back from deciding to allocate more towards super rare. Is I can have a more diverse team in rare. I can win semi-regularly, and then most of the time you can find a buyer for your rewards. I just don't know if there's that many people playing super rare to do that and like warrant the cost, even though it'd be a blast.
Yeah. So that's a great question, because it is very hard to sell super rares. I have a couple that I'm sitting on that, I don't have really any interest in. They don't add much to my gallery, but
Yeah,
I got really lucky. Yeah.
And I can't move it.
Really? Who is it?
I think it's Jorge Mateo on the Orioles.
Damn.
Oof, nobody wants him right now.
I destroyed Rare Pro, not to talk about me too much, but I got like second or third, I want to say. Maybe it was fourth. And so it was a tier 2 or 3 super rare. And I was like, cool, like a high level tier 2 or 3. I think it was 3. And I unwrapped that and went, oh, sadness.
Yeah, he was up there because of how well he played at the beginning of the season, probably. Yeah, that's always tough with the prize tiers, which is a conversation in and of itself, are the prize tiers in MLB currently. It's like the one thing I have an issue with across the platform.
Yeah, I've gotten lucky on the other side enough that I'm like, well, I guess it all shakes out. But
right.
And it was tough on my first ever super rare.
Yeah, I have a hard time complaining, but it's pretty. I complained pretty hard about that and the lack of an all-star game. Sorry, I'm pulling up just to look at some of the super rares that I have. But yeah, Patrick Sandoval's the other one. Miles Michaelis, I won. And I was like, I'm never going to sell that. I won Dane Dunning the week he put up that 41 or 45 against the Tigers, and someone bought him. I was like, thank God.
Well done.
Because I did not want him at all. Just because he doesn't strike anyone out. But yeah, it's tough because like I said, I'm trying to pare down my super rare gallery a little bit. Like, I'm not going to sell my Kyle Finnegan, especially unless he becomes the closer in Washington again. But it's pretty thin. So I have 20 super rares, and yeah, I want a Tom Murphy. Like, who's going to buy a backup catcher super rare? I'm going to take that card to my grave unless I give it away, probably. So yeah, I have a hard time. Like, if you came to me and said, should I move up to super rare or should I buy more rares with this ETH that I have, I would say probably buy more rares, because
that's what I probably would have said too.
Yeah.
I'm curious at your logic for it, so I'm still listening, but
I think my logic was just that I wanted to.
Okay.
I don't, despite, my love for projections and numbers and data-driven decisions, a lot of my decisions, aside from like personnel, are just like, am I going to have fun? So like, I've started moving money back over to soccer because I do still love soccer. And I haven't had the only other rare that I want is Fernando Tatis. He's like the one that I don't have that I really want to have. There are some, like, I would love a Francisco Lindor because, I wouldn't say that I knew him, but I was around him a lot and gained an appreciation for him. Stuff like that. Like, they're more like heart buys, and that's what that would be. And then on the other end, like, I don't need more depth in super rare. Like, I don't need to run out and buy more guys like Patrick Sandoval and Miles Michaelis just to roll out there. Like, I'm cool with, like, Spencer Steer. I got so lucky on because we have like price valuations too. I mean, it's essentially just dividing the projected score over the course of the season by price. But going into it, there was just one really high outlier blip on my corner infield chart, and it was like league average, but for like basically nothing. And it was Spencer Steer, and I bought him like the day before opening day just to have a warm body, and he has been my best super rare.
He's been great.
Far. Yeah, I didn't expect it at all, but like, he won me that Kyle Schwarber, and then everything that came with it. He hit a homer or two on Sunday, and it was great. But so yeah, that was more of a decision of like kind of doing it for the brand almost. Like,
yeah, I get that.
Yeah, I just
there's a level of street cred associated with it.
Yeah, and I was on with Laird and Maxime, who owns and runs Sorare Data, and PSU Fans too, who is just a mega whale and a DFS god. And we were tracking the Victor Wembanyama auction, and some of the conversations that they were having were just like way above me, because these are guys who dabble in that. And I know Maxime's got a big gallery, and Sean's gallery is insane. They're talking like, where do you think this is going to land? And, they're like $100,000, it's a rare, but it's got collectability. And like, I just don't play in those streets. So like, I felt foreign, and this was a couple of days ago. Like, I felt foreign in that conversation, and, they kind of asked where I thought it would land. And I was like, I don't understand the collectible side of it. I only see it from a value standpoint, as a utility standpoint rather.
Yeah.
But I felt silly, and I think Maxime kind of even gave me a look when I was like, I don't know, like 10,000, and then like it immediately got bid up to 10,000, and it went for 18. But like, I was just kind of agreeing with Sean. But all of that to say, like, I did kind of move there because I thought I could generate more like when I do win a T5 and sell it, or like when I win a Dane Dunning and sell it, like I got like $40, and like you have to do really well to sell a rare for $40.
Mhm.
So it was a balancing act, but also just because I wanted to kind of understand the ecosystem a little bit more so I can be privy to it and talk about it. And yeah, if people see me playing up there, there might be a little benefit of like trust building,
Yeah.
but I'm just a guy, man. I still haven't won anything. I still haven't won anything. So like Nick, you have more wins than me. And
Hey, I got lucky twice. That's it.
that's what you have to do.
Nick has more wins than a lot of people. He sleeps on the podium.
Hey, nice. I see you up there, baby.
It's been fun.
So y'all tell me. I've been talking a lot about me, but I wanna hear how y'all are doing it, because I have a lot of deficiencies to my game. Like I trust my projections too much. I don't consider context nearly enough when I'm making lineups, because like I'm trying to get projections out and I'm like, yeah, let's just get this done. I got a show coming up. So tell me how y'all are doing it, because
oh man, Hunter, you want to hop in?
I mean, I think me and Nick, we kind of have like a good balance. You know, I played a lot of DFS in the past. I dabble here and there, but don't play nearly as much as I used to.
Same.
Nick does he's done the season long stuff, so we kind of come together and have a nice blend on our show. Yeah, for me, it's kind of just taking that same approach, like looking short term and trying to find pitchers that are going to be in good strikeout matchups, and hitters that you can stack in good spots, good ballpark factors, and look at the weather and opposing pitchers and stuff like that. So I kind of put all that in my newsletter and break that down on Mondays and Fridays before the slate. And then, yeah, I mean, Nick can talk about more, but he does the So ranks and some more long-term, buys and holds and stuff. Nick, you can elaborate on that.
Sure. So I come at it the exact opposite of like DFS. I liked seasonal baseball. I'm really a junkie for like dynasty fantasy football. So like I have to gear myself back from a 5-year time horizon to like a 1 to 3. And even then, I'm probably maybe one of the more like I'd rather have a rookie that I could play for 10 years than a guy that's going to be really good for the latter half of this season. Like I'm just wired that way. And so I started building my own ranks and then building kind of a price analysis thing over the top of them that we could probably get into later to basically squeeze as much as I possibly could out of my budget. And so when I started last year, my budget was a little bit lower and I wanted to compete, but not spend like basically Moneyball. Like you approach it similarly, just from maybe a different, direction of you want to squeeze as much as you can, score as many points as you can for as little of a cost outlay as possible. And so I did that by backing in from a mixture of dynasty, redraft, and projections and kind of aggregated it all together to build my own ranks and then overlay cost on top of that to sort of spot buy lows and sell highs and stuff. And over time, you notice that like the market does what the market does based on what's happened over the last 2 weeks. But if you're thinking of what could happen in the next year, well, more often than not, the long-term thinking outweighs the short term. Like you benefit way more often by just being a little bit slower to the party, actually, of this guy sucked, but he's supposed to be good. Well, that's a buying opportunity. This guy's been great, but he's supposed to just be mediocre. Well, that's a selling opportunity. And it's not much more robust than that, other than like I have a very fancy spreadsheet where I can point to any given guy and go, oh yeah, he looks like he's, 50% overvalued based on what I expect him to do over the next 3 years. And so that's my entire like approach. And I just buy guys that I want to hold for a while. And then at some point I've got kind of a stable of guys that I can sort of mix and match depending on matchups. And that started to happen somewhere around like 40 or 50 cards in a scarcity where I was like, oh, okay, I can take this logic, put it into this lineup. I can take the opposite logic, put it into a different lineup and be happy on probably one of them. And so like somewhere along the way you get enough cards and I was like, okay, cool. like the guys I believe in long term are also good enough to perform in the short term. And that's when I start looking at like your projections or Hunter's commentary on like the DFS side, where because that's super short term focused. And so like then I just take the best of what I have and shove it into like the short term lens, and occasionally it works quite well. So I don't know. We could probably dive super deep into all the weird stuff that we can do in Excel, but
I'd love to. I would love to do that, because like what you said is more or less what I have tried to do, just like you said, kind of in a different lens. And I generally, like when I buy players, I use I think the first show I ever did, I talked about how baseball is either the micro or the macro. Like you're looking very, 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 very deep into what is going on in this moment, like literally the physics of how the ball was released and how it hit the bat, or you're looking at like 1 to 3 to 5 years. And that's how I've done it. I've either bought a player for a specific game week, or I buy them because of what their rest of the season projection looks like. And then, like you said, I got to the point, like at the beginning of the year, I bought more players for my gallery. I got in on Acuna before he boomed, which was sick.
Yeah, I screwed that up, if you guys want to laugh at me, but keep going.
But so I am the same way. And I do want to talk about, whether it's today or, on a different show, I want to know kind of some of the ways that you look at it. Because I look at y'all's stuff for sure. But sometimes getting it straight out of your brain can help me too. But Hunter, I want to know some of the ways that you look at it, especially because like park factor and stuff is very much factored into my projections, and handedness, and there are so many DFS things that I wish applied a little more. Like I want to find a way to leverage ownership percentage, like, but from contest to contest, and without that type of stuff being like readily available, I don't have a way to pull it.
We've joked about that on the podcast or the show, and there's no way to pull it, but there's like our thoughts on these guys are going to be high owned.
Yeah. And I know if y'all know Trippin B, I'm pretty sure he leverages ownership like that. And Trippin was like, I played him in head-to-heads each week in DFS soccer for the longest time. I was like, this guy must be, in your head, I'm playing him and he's beating me. I'm like, this guy must be a prick, just because he's
very nice.
Week. He is the nicest dude on earth. I love Trippin. And I just kind of gaslit myself into thinking that over time. I don't think I actually thought it, but I'd get mad at him. Anyway, I think he targets specific contests and says, well, Acuna is projecting really well, or maybe he's a bad example, but like, the Yankees are at Coors today and everyone's going to be playing Yankees probably in their pro lineup. So who's the second best matchup? Who compares similarly and stuff like that. So I want to do that sort of thing more often.
Yeah. I wonder how much you've noticed. This is like purely off the cuff. So like, I haven't researched this. I haven't tested this, but based on, I look for people that are kind of buy low opportunities. And I think you do the same. Just by nature of them being a buy low, it means the market's lower on them, which means that the moment you start them, you're basically slightly leveraged against the more expensive ones, because when somebody buys an expensive player, they're going to want to play them. And so like, just by nature of, I'm going to buy the guys that are a little bit cheaper that I think can get the most out of it. I think we get some amount, it's not all of it, but it's some of just leverage against the group, just because you're different. But I don't know how much it is, and I don't know what kind of edge it is.
Right.
But I think it's there.
I agree.
Yeah. Ownership.
Robot Hunter.
Oh no. Am I still here?
You're there, but can hear you. There you are. You're back.
Fine. Finally gave you an opportunity.
Oh man.
Your computer's like, nah. I'm tired of this.
I thought I fixed these lag issues with Nick yesterday, but I guess we're going back to Robo Hunt. I forgot what I was going to say something about ownership. Ownership. I mean, I don't talk about it that much. I know me and Nick have talked about this on Off Base, and it's like, obviously it's so important in DFS, but is it something to really consider in Sorare as much? I mean, I don't know. I mean, you don't even see the ownership percentage like you guys said. I mean, I think that would be a really cool feature to have that. I don't know. I did the content for Rainmakers, DraftKings Rainmakers last year. I know some people were saying like, it doesn't really matter in Rainmakers, kind of a similar game. I don't know. Like, I actually would love to, read other people's stuff on the ownership thing and learn more about that in Sorare specifically. But
Yeah, I wonder
any
if they
thoughts?
could show that to us. They were just asking about features we'd like to see on Sorare.
Yeah,
Like
I
a
should've
percent
seen that.
owned and a percent played would be really helpful.
On a contest by contest breakdown too.
Mhm.
I did the Sorare Data NBA show over and over, and they have like they have the impact players tab if you go to like their game week
Yeah.
center, and they have it in NBA. Oh geez, yeah, it's pulling up this game week. I'm checking. I don't think they have it in. Yeah, they don't have it in MLB yet, but they have it in NBA where it'll show you the breakdown of where
Okay.
cards are played. So like it's got to be semi easy to pull because like we know how many mints are issued,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and then as long as you can pull data from contests, but like I don't, DraftKings makes that easy where you can just export it to a spreadsheet, and you can't do that with Sorare. So yeah, maybe an export to spreadsheet that would be
God,
that would change my life.
yes, mine too.
Yeah.
I could do a lot with that.
Yeah. That's the thing that's the other thing with it, man. Like we're just scratching the surface, and
Mhm.
there are nerds like us who love this sort of data, and like we can leverage it even further. We just need it to be given to us. And
Yeah.
I mean, there's a conversation happening about how much attention Sorare actually pays to the MLB product.
Mhm.
And I think it is a worthy conversation.
Yeah, I see that with just how niche, baseball is, and people take the summer off, and I don't know. We're big baseball fans. I'll watch any baseball game, really.
Right.
Whether it's like I'll even watch on TV. I mean, I was telling Nick I watched the entire celebrity softball game, so I love the game. And
why wouldn't you?
but there are a lot of people out there that think it's boring and slow and everything.
Mhm.
Yeah, but
I have MLB TV, and I'll just like toss a game on, like if I'm in the pool or something. But when I was starting to play DFS and playing soccer more and more, I started to watch less and less soccer because it'd just be like, all right, man, just like play the game, give me the numbers, give me my money, and let's move on. And I don't find that with baseball because I love it for that micro aspect, like just math. It's just a giant physics equation happening in front of you, and
It is.
I've explained this to people that I know who are like, this woman who's a PhD, and she's like, I am so bored by it, but like she loves math, and I explained it to her in this light, and she's like, okay, I could see it. I could see finding an interest in it. And I mean, like when you add a fantasy aspect on top of it, that's just more math. And then you add, the market aspect of it, and that's just more math. And so, yeah, it takes a special kind of nerd to feel that way about it. But yeah, just as far as the interest so far in the MLB product, like I didn't expect it to be the same, especially when NBA came out. Like we knew right away that like NBA was going to have more players because they've already got a purely European base.
Yeah.
And I mean, not purely, but 80%, 90%. And they brought in a sport that base is already familiar with, and they came straight over and kind of hit the ground running. And you've seen, if you like paid attention to the NBA product over the course of the year and the way that they like implemented things and the amount of attention they paid to it on social and stuff like that, you can see that they think the future is there. And I totally understand, but I think it's very promising. I don't know if y'all have seen the ads like ad nauseum like I have, but like on MLB TV, especially if you're watching on mobile,
Yeah.
it's once a inning break. Like you get a Sorare ad. So
Yep.
there are conversations to be had about their level of interest in it. And I mean, even the way I got started talking about this is Sorare Data's interest in it. Like they haven't built out the same amount of.
It's definitely third.
Yeah, it is. And that's why I think, it's important for us to have these conversations. And it's important for the community to work together, because the people who are doing it obviously are into it. And the people like us who like make content for it obviously love it. And we're kind of some of the only outlets for this sort of thing right now. So I don't know. I kind of got off on a number of tangents there, but I would like to see some of that stuff. And I don't know, hopefully we can make it come to life.
I think so.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to it too. Go ahead, Hunter. Sorry.
Oh no, I guess I was going to ask. So Alex, you talked about sort of the prize structure that you think could be changed. Not something you like right now.
Mm-hmm.
What else do you think could? What other changes do you want to see going forward with the product, say next year? And what do you think are best ways to grow it outside of just like content?
So they sent out a survey recently, and I filled it out quickly. And the thing that I said is I wanted to see better looking cards. Like I wanted to see baseball cards, like action shots on the cards. And I understand the limitations of that and the licensing of that and where that might be difficult. And I also see where that might not be as much of a value add. And I don't think it's going to generate any extra profit. So I wouldn't think it's high on their priority list, but that's the first thing that I thought of. But tools like we mentioned, the prize structure feels like an easy win. In soccer, there's a tier 0, like a star tier. And I think we need that, because if you're going to offer a tier 1, it should be good. And like, I don't know. Like Matt McClain isn't a tier 1. If I won a contest and I won Matt McClain, I would be upset. I love Matt McClain. But like when I look at the prize structure and I'm like, all right, Tatis, okay, and Acuna, and it's like, even if it popped up Cincinnati shortstop, I'd be like, oh, Elliott. It was like Matt McClain. I'm like, you son of. So yeah, I mean, I don't care if they don't offer a tier 0 in every contest, but like unique pro, super rare pro, rare pro, limited pro should have at least one tier 0 given away. And I would have to look at it, and I can, again, on Sorare Data, but I don't think the rewards at the top are very good. Like Unique Pro last week won Corbin Carroll, which I think is an end game player. I think Corbin Carroll would be in tier 0 if we had one right now and there were 10 players. That's like the one guy. He and Ellie, I think, are the two guys where I could say, okay, being a rookie, the long-term value makes them worth that spot. The unique all-star winner won a tier 1, Matt Olson, same guy. Miguel won both of those.
Yep.
I think Matt Olson is probably justifiable in that spot. If you won a contest and won Matt Olson, how would you feel?
He's the one Brave I'm missing from my stack, so I'm a little biased, and I'd be happy. But the reason I'm missing him is he's overvalued. So I get that.
I got in on him when he was undervalued. Another guy, like I got super lucky there, and because I wouldn't buy him right now. I've thought about selling him, but I've got a Brave stack, and when I think about October, I'm like, I don't think I can part with that. So, all right, how about this? Super Rare Pro. Wander Franco was the tier 1.
That's pretty good.
I like that.
To win a contest.
I mean,
and you also get $800.
Yeah, that's pretty solid. There's not many middle infielders you'd want over him for the next 10 years.
Right.
Agreed.
Second place, tier 2, Spencer Steer.
That hurts a little.
Yeah. Not great.
Third place, Alexis Diaz.
Big
Fourth
drop
That hurts
place.
a lot.
Yeah.
Fourth place, Zach Eflin.
That also hurts.
Yeah, big time drop off there. I didn't realize that.
They also gave away 2 Will Brennans and 2 Samad Taylors. That's 9 through 12. But
Yeah.
all right, Super Rare All-Star. This is where it gets. I'm not going to go through every contest, but just to kind of point it out. Poor Trippin finished third. Got Max Muncy. The top spot for winning a contest was Josh Young, tier 2.
Yeah.
To win a contest.
I mean, young at least.
Yeah, but do you think this is where it
nah.
starts to get like? Do you,
no pun intended. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you right? Do you think at every level there should be a tier 1?
I've wondered that.
I haven't thought about it, but
It's a strategy thing, honestly. Like All-Star and Pro, definitely. National League, American League, I don't know. Maybe.
Right.
yeah.
It depends on how many people are playing in that pool.
Yes, absolutely. And for what it's worth, Rare National League winner got Mookie Betts.
Yeah.
American got Wander Franco.
And when I got second in American, I think I got Volpe, which was good, and first got Franco.
Yeah, I remember that.
And like that was pretty good at the time, but then like Volpe decided he couldn't hit the ball for 3 months and his price went in half. So like, I don't know. There's some sort of ranking versus price versus last whatever trending that they're not quite getting.
That's the real issue. And I mean, I'm going back through some of these, and I'm seeing Ellie and Wander and Bo Bichette and Yuri Perez for second is fine. And so, but yeah, it's the ranking by value, which 2 weeks ago, Rare Pro, the winner got Zach Gallen, who is valued at 0.229 ETH. Second place got Volpe, who's valued at 0.274. And this is Rare Pro, so these are super rares. But
shoot, I won't make any enemies today and say that. Never mind.
So yeah, it's just I think there just needs to be more consideration. I would say a tier 0, and just let people know when to expect where those are given away and play their cards in contests where they want based on that information. Because I think the tier 1 thing is super vague, and
it's just too wide, actually.
Yeah, basing it on price is rough because you get runs on people. So like you get Jorge Mateo gets pushed up the ladder, and then he becomes Jorge Mateo again, and you do really well, and you just happen to win Jorge Mateo instead of, I mean, tier 3s. God, Mickey Moniak is a tier 3 right now.
I got, hold on. I think I got like a Gunnar Henderson at one point from tier 3, and I was
that's the other side of it. That's the other side of it. And like you said, the luck kind of shakes out, but I don't know. I feel like so K-Lamp won, who has won, I think, about 7 times this season. That man's an animal.
Yeah, he's a beast.
Yeah, he has suggested, like having us vote on tiers, and that might be a little, I don't mean to call his idea rudimentary, but like that might be a lot of lifting to deal with, especially if you're so rare. But I don't know. There's got to be some amount of logic to it, and the way I might rank how things are or should be structured is going to be different from someone else. Like the way I do things, I would just be like, all right, sort by XWOBA, and then like just that's the tier list.
Honestly, what you're describing, like what we're missing is a Fantasy Pros aggregate so rare rank where your industry experts, as it were, have voted, and like that's how you shake out the tiers. Like it wouldn't be that hard, and like I would probably do it for free, but you could just give me a card a week or something and people would be all over it.
Yeah,
like
I volunteer as tribute.
Yeah, exactly. Like bring it on. I'll rank all day.
Yeah, that's again the community. Like we'll step up.
Yeah. And then at least there's nobody you can point to beyond the community at that point to say the rewards are off. Like vote better, guys. You know,
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say, Hunter?
I wanted to ask you, Alex, what do you think about the ETH rewards? I know in DFS, people want to win the money, they want the liquidity. Whereas Sorare, it's mostly you're winning other cards, and maybe that turns some DFS people off. I'm not sure. But did you like the implementation of the ETH rewards this year? And do you want to see more? Do you want to see, what are your thoughts on that?
So I was actually really skeptical because a lot of the time people were like, how are you going to save Sorare or whatever? And people were like, ETH rewards will save everything. Not that it needed saved, but that was kind of the dialogue at the time. And I was like, I don't think that's going to change much. Like, just win good cards and sell it. And then I won ETH. And boy, let me tell you, I love it.
just hits different.
It does. It does. Something about, not having to be at the mercy of the rewards gods and be able to make your own fate. Because, like, guys like us, I imagine, I think I can speak for all of us when I say, like, when I have money liquid, I want to have a very specific plan with how to spend it. And when I won, or when I finished second and I got Julio Arias, there were a number of different players that I wanted, and he was not necessarily one of them.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then I have to jump through these hoops, and I am then at the mercy of the market. And again, that was a super rare. So luckily people were still buying them pretty hot and heavy at the time. When I won the Schwarber and, $500 ETH, I was like, I don't even know what to do with this. Like, I don't have any way to spend this. And I ended up making a plan, and it felt like I won so much more. Granted, I mean, like $500 is a lot.
0.25 goes quick though.
It does. And it did. Once I had an idea, I bought those two guys I mentioned, and I bought pretty much an entire 2 or 3 lineups deep of Premier League cards, limited cards. So it doesn't sound like much of a plan, but the ETH is nice. I get more excited to win ETH than cards most times. More so if it's a significant amount. Like, if I win the $5, I'm still happy. But
I've won $1 a couple times, and I was like, "Ooh, neat!"
Sandlot, baby. I do love. I've had weeks where I'm like, all of my lineups are out of it, and I'm like, "Come on, Sandlot! Like, give me that $1. Just make me feel something."
Yeah.
But yeah, I like it. If it's not coming to NBA, that will be a huge loss, I think, for them, especially because going down a completely other path here, but like, NBA game structure is so wild that, like, you win a card and you just have to, like, pray that it's usable because of the salary cap.
Yeah.
In MLB, if I win somebody, even if it's, someone that I don't care too much about, if they're a starter, like, they're going to have their day.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I like winning that. And, you can feel good about your tier 3s and be like, yeah, I'll plug them in one of these days. That's fine. But then, like, winning ETH, it's like, all right, so I need this.
Mm-hmm.
And then, it feels like one of the Infinity Stones. I prefer it. It adds something different. And I think it's a better way to do things. Not a better way to do things, because it does not cost Sorare anything to mint the cards.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not hitting full mints. Like, after year 1, they were like, all right, we're not going to mint anymore. Like, everything in the first season, we're done minting those cards. And you're like, I don't know, Jacob deGrom has 124 of 5,000 cards minted. And whatever. Like, they already paid for the license. They can make as many as they want. My dog is not happy about the under minting of Jacob deGrom.
Yeah. Well, nobody is.
Yeah, right. We got to see a pitch more. So I understand why they wouldn't just be like, yes, $5,000 to first, $2,500 to second, 1,000. Like, you can't make it a DFS prize structure, but it's a lot closer than it was. I'd like, Hunter, I know you can speak to this because I've seen your cover photo. the top end of those GPPs makes the grind feel so much different. Like you can plug away for a really long time and it can start to feel like work, but you only got to hit one.
Oh yeah, believe me, I was in a tournament that had 5 million to first, 200 entrants, did not get there, so it's also very painful letting that slip away. But but yeah,
I hear you.
that's good stuff there. You mentioned salary cap with NBA. I asked Bob about this. I asked someone, but do you think that would all come to baseball? Not necessarily salary cap, but what they do in NBA with the captain, and I guess that's essentially salary cap. Do you think something like that would be good for
trending
baseball?
points.
Like having a captain and something like that in baseball, or do you don't think that would work?
I do like the idea of a captainship. I think that's fun. I don't think it needs it, but I think it's a fun idea. The cap, again, I think initially when it was brought up, people were like, this is the dumbest. Like, why would you put that in MLB? I think it was one side of the aisle or the other. I think it was very polarizing is the word I'm looking for. I tend to be in the middle on a lot of things and try to see the good side of everything. And I guess there are some positives to be had of doing that, but it's just a different way to use your cards.
Yeah.
I don't see the point of it because, like, I guarantee I can find you a star who's on like a 2 L15 right now, and I can guarantee you I can find a absolute bum who you could play in cap mode right now.
Yeah.
So it doesn't add a lot in terms of dynamics, but I could see it. Now I'm just doing this for my own fun. TJ Friedel is on a 10. I ain't playing him in the cap.
Yeah, and I think Cedric Mullins is like a 4 right now or something.
Yeah, right.
Do you think it would be good if we kept all the same tournaments and added, call it an underdog mode where this was true?
I like
because
that.
then suddenly you've got to decide, is Cedric Mullins in my all-star with my Orioles stack, or is he over here in underdog where I'm playing backup catchers and like cards that never see the light of day? Like that's the area I think it could work.
Yeah, I agree. I'm a big fan of I played underdog soccer. My favorite weeks of the NBA season were when I could play underdog limited and like try and get in on, I can't even think of who I was playing because they were just such forgettable people. Jaden Springer on a 1 L10, or Steve Michalik just walked into a completely empty backcourt for the Hornets on a 8, stuff like that. So like that's fun. And with baseball, like, yeah, it becomes fun all of a sudden because Cedric Mullins is, he's walking into Coors this week, not in real life, but say he's got 3 games at Coors and he's on a 4 because he's just been slumping, but this could be his week, and you slot him into the underdog lineup, and all of a sudden he goes off, and you're just brilliant. Like that stuff's fun. And I don't know if you guys are privy to this mode in soccer. There was something called Specialist, where you had to play 2 players under 40, L10 or L15, whatever they use. You could play 1 player over 60, and everyone else had to be, in the 50s essentially. I mean, you could play all 5 guys under 40, but only 1 could be 60 plus, and at least 2 had to be 40 or below. And I think stuff like that, I think adding more constraints to add creativity to our roster building would be fun. The ALNL thing is fine because, like that's what we were doing in season long, and those exist, and it's kind of a layup. But do I want to see them long term? Like if they don't plan on offering 6 contests a week at each scarcity, would I prefer it be something like Specialist, or would I prefer it be something like ALNL? I would pick Specialist a million times because I like getting creative. My lineup building process is not terribly might not even be good. I look at the projections. I take Ronald Acuna and I stack them with Ozzie Albies and Matt Olson. And who's my second best player? All right, it's Bryce Harper this week. All right, I'll toss Trey Turner in there with him, and I'll watch Trey Turner put up yet another 2. But that's like how I build my lineups. And again, the stuff that we care about, like the park factor and the pitchers he's facing, factor into the projections, and I'll double check them. And I don't just straight use the projections for pitchers, but like if I had to use, if you gave me a 9-man roster and I had to use a catcher, I would stop passing over every single catcher I find and selling catchers immediately and stuff like that. Like, make me get creative, make me use my cards, make me value cards that aren't necessarily of value now. I think that's the way to do it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I like this underdog idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clip this part. I'm going to put it on Twitter, going to tag Sorare, and they're going to get it done for us.
They know how to code it. It's not like they haven't done it before. So
it wouldn't be tough, and it would be a lot of fun.
Yeah. I like being restricted. And
it makes it worth it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And if Ronald Acuna's got if he's on like a 2 for 42 by some crazy happening, and all of a sudden I can use him in my underdog contest, and there's a T1 to be won in that contest where I got to beat like 7,800 people in a different contest to win a tier 1, then man, make me make those decisions and make me fail on my own. Because right now it's just like, variance got me.
Well, and there's a place like the whales. There are whales, and like they have galleries that are insanely deep. And if they want to just put the most expensive players in a big giant lineup, that's fine. Like that's part of the game. But if you've got a diverse way for people to win, like there's an incentive. If you want to just buy the best players, great. If you want to buy players that might under or overperform, like that's good too. Like there should be, I don't know, a diverse way for people to play. And that's where constraints come in. So I like that a lot.
And to the comment about there being the whales out there with those deep galleries too, that's another reason not to just venture into super rare, because like I don't know I don't know if you've seen like Bob's Sandlot lineups or like YNWA's Sandlot lineups that are just like 6 all-star uniques that he just didn't happen to use that week. The fact that every day, man, the fact that I finished second in super rare pro with that team that I did, it feels like crazier and crazier. But that's why I love this game. That is why I love this game, is because it can happen. It can happen to people who care as much as me. It can happen to people who don't care and just toss the lineup in. It rocks. But also, like, know what you're up against in super rare.
Yeah. So I have a question for you going back like 20 minutes that sort of just percolated back into my brain. So you mentioned how fun it is to win ETH in a contest. And when I took the same survey that you mentioned, I said, like, I focused on, I like winning cards. That's great. But what there needs to be behind that is a liquid market, which comes with either more people or less supply or what have you. Because what you're talking about is if when you win ETH, you get to skip to step 2, which is what do I do with it? When you win a card, you have to go to step 1, which is if I don't want this card, how do I make it into something I want? It's either sell it or trade it. And so my thinking was like, we just need a more active trade market or a more active liquid market. And I was wondering, since you've been around longer than either of us have at this point, how did they get there with soccer? And like, what would you do? We'll call it football. Sorry, I'm American. Everybody forgive me. It's soccer for me. What would you do in baseball to make a more liquid market, short of just like buying a whole bunch of users?
That's tough, because so I got on the platform like while the boom was happening in the football side of it. Like I overpaid for some 19-year-old Russian kid who barely played, and I made some mistakes, but I didn't get bailed out the way that people who had been there prior may have been able to get bailed out. So I didn't really see that come to be. I was just kind of a part of it. And I mean, it was hard to win cards. Like it was like on auction, it was hard to win cards. And, you know, I knew how to use Sorare data, and I was even like just bidding on the last sale price, and I got outbid like on everything for like 2 weeks. It was just crazy. So like I hate for my answer to just be like, yeah, we need a boom, but like we need a boom. And I don't know how that happens. That's how we get to that boom is the question I've been asking myself for the last year. I really think the way that happens is by making this, we can't make it, but like when Sorare becomes the standard fantasy experience, then everything that we already have in our gallery, and the fact that like limiteds are only minted to 5,000, that becomes very consequential. And like we're hitting the full mint, and then all of a sudden there's resource scarcity, because right now there's not. It's very artificial. And I'm not enough of an expert on markets or, you know, any amount of economics to be able to like make a prediction outside. We need there to be resource scarcity, and we need it to not be artificial. So it's tough.
Because we've seen the artificial side in like the off season where they suppress auctions.
Yes.
And hypothetically, if there was still interest, you suppress an auction, but then the card market from managers should increase. But I don't know about you. I didn't see that. And so like there's not just a single lever maybe that they could pull.
Yeah. I truly don't have an answer. I wish I did. I look at this and like, this is everything I've ever wanted out of a fantasy experience. Like I don't enjoy the bubble of season long. Like I don't enjoy there being one player and like you control the market on it. It's because like I'm in one fantasy league, and people are very difficult to negotiate with. They don't know, or they know what I do, so they think I'm always trying to scam them when I'm literally just showing up like, here is value equaling value and all that. I don't enjoy it as much, but like I like owning my decisions. Like literally I own my decisions. I make a decision to own this player, and then I have to make a decision to play them, and it more falls on me than like this guy fell to me in a draft. So it's tough because some people want a more casual experience. And I think with season long, you can show up, you can draft them and be like, I like this guy. And then you can go about and live your life. Whereas like I'm a hardcore fantasy sports player. I was a hardcore DFS player. I like thinking about the math and the game theory and stuff like that. And maybe that doesn't happen because this is a lot for people. That's the other thing is like,
well, so you made me think of something, and I'm wondering if either of you have seen this. I do a lot of my work basically translating, you know, fantasy, regular baseball fantasy stuff into something that's actionable for Sorare. And while you mentioned like there's a ton of Sorare ads out there right now, and they're on MLB TV, what I haven't seen is Sorare advertising on any of the podcasts I listen to or any of the fantasy sites. And a lot of these guys, like the people over at The Athletic, which are some of my favorites, they're always playing in new styles of leagues like NFBC or what's the other new one, like Atanu or whatever. Like this could be the next wave of that. And yet we're not targeting the people that are going to look for newness. We're targeting people that are just watching baseball. And I think those are different fundamentally.
Yeah. And it's different because like if I get Joe down the street to hop on Sorare with me and he's playing common, great, you're having fun, you know what Sorare is, but like it's not, you know, raising the tide and thus all the ships. If we're targeting NFBC players who like throwing money around, that's different. If you're targeting people who, you know, subscribe to season-long fantasy Patreons, and this is something that K-Lamp actually has been talking a lot about and actually sent in a tweet to David. those are the people. I agree 1000%. Those are the people that should be targeted, because if they start buying at the top, then all of a sudden that creates more of a market. And I'm not talking about trickle down or anything like that, but like
trickle down economics.
Yeah. But like with those people, they're going to be injected at different levels, and it does move the market. I actually did reach out to Chris Towers of CBS.
Yeah.
I sent him a DM. He's the best. I sent him a DM. And I imagine he doesn't read his DMs. I haven't done more than that, but like that is a guy who I guarantee would enjoy it. He's an eclectic dude, and it's different.
Yeah.
So I try to do that community outreach myself, and I'm just like, come on, like guys, help me.
I was just talking to Hunter about like the Rates and Barrels pod, right? And they're reading ads for sports betting, and then after that ad comes buying an engagement ring. And I'm like, why are you selling me engagement rings? You could go straight from sports betting to Sorare and have those ads make perfect sense for somebody like me. And if I wasn't playing, I'd be like, well, I can't sports bet. I'm in Oregon, but I can play Sorare. I'm in.
Yeah.
Bring it on.
And again, like, how did I get into this game? They started running ads on a DFS podcast.
Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I know they're trying to get the DFS community quite a bit. I know they have a partnership with Stochastic. I think Run Pure. If you watch any of the shows, they'll take a break, 20 minutes in and build a Sorare team. But I've talked about this with Nick. I think it's a little tough to get the DFS community. Just the game is different. DFS is a pretty straightforward game. It's pretty easy to to get going when you first start. Sorare, it's also the prize pools is probably the biggest difference, right? I mean, DFS sites have the big prize pools, all the gambling licenses and stuff like that. So I don't know. I don't know. It's probably a little tough to get the DFS crowd in there. I don't really know what it would take. I mean, bigger prize pools is the answer, but it's not like that easy of a solution. I don't know.
I know one of the big DFS basketball guys, content guys, was really hyped for the launch of NBA and never got into it because of the time. And that's kind of the issue with Sorare NBA as it is. But like, yeah, there's nothing to pool them because, again, you look at the prize pools on DraftKings, and if you're playing in the $15 in entry contest and you're looking and you're seeing, every night a $300,000 potential pot, you want to win that, or you want to come over and win a $800 Jokic if you just happen to just hit the nuts, or or in MLB, come over and win a Wander Franco, or something that doesn't even move the needle from a Sorare. I don't mean to pick on Wander, but like, it needs to move the needle, and that's just another reason why I think the tier 0 thing matters and why the ETH thing matters. But again, it's two different economies. Like, we on Sorare are paying for something once, and then we are using it in perpetuity until we sell it, or the player retires, or whatever. And then DFS, there's a constant stream of income, so they can scale those prize pools based on what's being entered and what they expect to be entered. And so it's tough to, sit here and be like, just give away more ETH, because like they could keep giving away more ETH, and then like no one comes to the platform, and they've minted this many cards, but they don't want to mint more because then it makes, lowers all ships. And so I understand it's a very tough economic system. And again, like I got a C- in economics 101. So I'm just out here. I like playing the game, and I don't like trying to solve that problem, but I feel like some of the answers are out there.
Yeah. Do you think it's just like a branding and storytelling kind of thing? Like there's a understanding gap of I pay for a tournament each time I enter and I have this much upside, versus I pay to acquire a pool of cards and I have upside spread across years. Like, is it just a storytelling problem?
To a degree. I don't think that's it. Like, I mean, own your game was their tagline and may still be. I haven't seen it in a while, but that works on me because I know what is going on there. also like I'm comparing it to DFS, which is a thing that I dabbled in, but like it's not like that was the biggest market in the world. It's sizable and
it's big now. Yeah.
Holding, yeah. But do you remember when DFS got big? I worked in radio at that point, and you want to talk about every ad break? Holy cow!
Yeah.
I was in one of those advertisements, by the way.
Were you really?
I've seen that one. Yeah.
That's amazing.
At the very end, there's a little picture of me at Fenway Park in one of the live finals. You can see me. So I'm still waiting for my royalties, DraftKings. I'll clip this one too.
Yeah, there you go.
You didn't ask for my permission, DraftKings. Oh, no, I'm kidding. But too late. But
yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, that's a good conversation there to have. Yeah, so we're at an hour and 15. How long do you guys want to go? Should we talk some second half baseball takes before we head on out here? What's the game plan?
We can do that. I have no problem with that. We can talk actual ball for a second. I got another show coming up in 2 hours.
Yeah, who you guys got? Who's gonna regress? Who's gonna win the World Series? Nick, we'll start with you. Who you got?
Regress and win the World Series. Those are our two. I mean, I kind of harp on all these poor guys like every week in my ranks, but like the guys that show up in the overvalued section are the ones I would choose to regress. So sorry, but like Justin Steele, like that is not a top 30 pitcher for me, let alone a top 10. Hunter Brown, same thing. And on the flip side, you got some of the old guys that are probably going to figure it out. Like their stuff just hasn't been working as well, like Scherzer, Verlander, all that. Like we should see a little bit of a flip flop there in terms of value. And then like I was joking with you, I'm sort of turning into a White Sox fan. So like I think the White Sox are going to be far better in the second half of the season than they were in the first half of the season. And I don't even think it's that crazy to say. Like apart from Luis Robert, if the rest of that team remembers how to play baseball, there's a good offense there. Those are not my picks for the World Series, but like they could be competitive. World Series. I don't know. I might have to think about this. I'll kick it to Alex and I'll be back with a World Series pick.
So like, are you asking me what teams are going to regress or what players are going to regress?
I was thinking teams, but Nick went with players. That's totally fine. You could do that, but team or player. I was going to do a team. So,
I mean, my Guardians damn sure are not winning the Central. I don't know how. The fact that they're on the top of the Central right now with the offense that they have, the fourth worst offense in baseball or something, is asinine. God, I'm just looking at the standings right now, and like both Centrals are such a mess. All right, here's a team that I'm worried about, and I don't like saying it because I love this team. I could see the Diamondbacks missing the playoffs. Their offense, their offense isn't great. And also like Corbin Carroll, the fact that he hurt his surgically repaired shoulder and then hurt it on a swing the next weekend, like I worry about that. And I don't know how much more that offense has. Like Ketel Marte has been hot. I love Christian Walker, but like Geraldo Perdomo is getting into the All-Star game. And I don't know if y'all have looked at his baseball savant page, but it looks like the Antarctic. He's like first or second percentile in like everything that matters. So yeah, I worry about them. I hope I'm wrong because I would love to see them go the distance. I am going to say World Series Braves over the Rays currently. And I want to say Texas, but I'm going to go with the Rays just because of their management.
I like that. That's actually
call.
Oh yeah, I'll just do mine quick. Then we can go back to Nick. You actually took mine. I was gonna say Diamondbacks for regress for the same reasons. I mean, Corbin Carroll. I thought that injury looked bad. Like he was grabbing his oblique, his
did.
side, and I
It
know
did.
he had that shoulder injury recently, and I was like, man, he's going to be out. And then I'm watching the All-Star game, and I see him mic'd up in left field talking about the game, and I'm like, man, this is crazy. He battled through it, but yeah, I think they could regress. Yeah, and the Braves, chalky pick, but I mean they're just too good. They have
How
everyone.
do you pick against them right now, man?
Yeah, like I want to say Rangers, but like they don't. DeGrom's out for the year. Like it'd be different if he was there. But yeah, I got the Braves. It's a chalk pick, but I don't care.
That's fair. The Braves were my first thought, and then I was like, wow, the National League has some other teams where like I think they could have some great second halves and be really good. Like the Phillies have been mediocre-ish, but they've got all the pitching tools, they've got all the hitting tools. Like they could have a great second half push. Same with the Padres. Same with I guess the Mets could remember how to play. The Dodgers could still be the Dodgers. Like there's a lot in the National League that could get weird. And then I was thinking of the American League, and everybody keeps buzzing about my Mariners getting Shohei. And if that happens, suddenly I'm like, yeah, the Mariners could make a good push. Like they've got a pitching staff, they've got a lot of pieces, and one superstar added on top of that could be really epic. I don't know. I mean, it's still the Braves for me, but gosh, there's some weird stuff that could happen.
Yeah. So you mentioned, well, first of all, I don't know if y'all heard who Shohei Ohtani said he was most happy to play with at the All-Star game.
Oh, did I hear this? Was it someone on the Mariners?
It was Jose Ramirez. So
I
Shohei to
did not hear that.
Cleveland.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I did not hear
Just
that.
saying.
I just remember he said he really liked Seattle.
That's what I heard.
I got excited about that, but
it's also like the easiest way to get back to Japan too. So I don't.
That helps. Yeah.
Yeah. And the Ichiro thing that would be sick. I hope that would be really cool. But
can you imagine that rotation?
Especially when Ray comes back.
Yeah. You got Ohtani, Castillo, Gilbert, Kirby, and then Ray.
That's like a potential Cy Young winner 1 through 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we got the Mariners sitting at 45 and 44, third place in the AL West. I mean, are we thinking that they surpass the Rangers at some point? What do you think?
I'm a complete homer, and I will say most definitely. But this is what they did to us last year, and they looked way worse in the first half. I think they've got all the tools.
Here's a team that I cannot believe are where they are is Toronto. Like, I mean, they're 50 and 41. It's not like they're bad, but looking and seeing them third in the division and 2 games out of last place, last place Boston would be ahead in the AL Central by 2.5 games. So it's all about context, but for them to be outperformed by Baltimore is crazy, given that like Baltimore's starting pitching is pretty aggressively mid.
I was going to say, like, outside of Gaussman for Toronto, like, there's not a lot to get super stoked about. That's true. Like, there's not a lot to get super stoked about for Baltimore. So,
yeah. Well, at least, like, Bassett has a track record, and Barrios had a track record a couple of years ago before he blew up. And then there's Alek Manoah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And Kikuchi's a fine 5, but.
Yeah. No, Blue Jays
offense.
Underwhelming. I think I recommended them as a stack against the Tigers, and they got no hit in one of those games.
Yep.
So
I ran them as my main stack that week. Toronto and Philly. Toronto and Philly are my main stacks. So
Philly's been rough.
Imagine
Oof. Yeah. Because Toronto last year, I mean, they were amazing.
Glorious.
Actually, fun fact, a year ago today, it was the day after the All-Star game, or whenever they got back. Yeah. The Blue Jays went to Fenway and put up 29 runs. So they're a second half team.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Vladdy everybody's picking on him. All of his underlying stats are great. So like second half comeback, there's Vladdy sitting right there, and add that to Bichette already playing well, and maybe Springer just does Springer things. Like that's solid. That's good enough to be at least a great Sorare stack.
Vladdy's got to lift the ball. That's the only thing.
He does indeed.
I got Vladdy and Bo in my Rare Pro lineup this week with Glasnow, Olsen, Albies, and Schwarber. So now's the time. Now's the time for the Blue Jays and the Phillies to come alive because I can use it.
All right. Well, we're almost at an hour and a half. Is there anything else you guys want to chat about before we get on out here? This has been great. Can't wait for people to check this one out.
I was trying to figure out who I was running in Rare Pro so that we're not doubling up at all. Okay. Red Sox and Orioles. Sweet.
I got the only Red Sox I see are Xander Bogaerts and JD Martinez's last year cards.
Yeah.
I don't think I have anyone from Boston. So
I like my little Boston stack.
That's a great way to leverage ownership again. Like,
yeah, Devers, Verdugo, Casas. It's not solid. It's not terrible.
No.
Nice. All right. Am I still lagging, by the way? Can you guys hear me?
No, you're good.
Okay. Nice. Got to make sure. You never know over here. All right. What do you guys say? Should we get on out of here?
I think we can do that.
It's good, but we should definitely do this again. This has been fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I feel like I've been talking a lot, and I want to hear from y'all one of these days. Sorry if I hogged the airtime.
No, you were good.
No, yeah, no, totally. Me and Nick, we're always talking twice a week, so it's good to ask you about stuff and learn about the app and everything you're doing over there. A lot of good insight. So appreciate you having you on. And yeah, I guess before we go out, just you can tell the people where to find. They're probably already following you, but you can tell them about Twitter, tell them about the YouTube channel and the app, and where they can find you.
Sorare FP on Twitter for all of my other ramblings, including like wrestling and other things that you won't care about. You can just follow me on Twitter at Lex Hooper if you want. But Sorare FP, patreon.com/Sorare FP. That's where you can find the app. You can find the app in the App Store, the Sorare FP app. And you can get the top 5 players projected each game week. So that is available to you for free. And like I mentioned at the top of the show, hopefully this 7-day trial will be rolled out and y'all can try the full version for a little bit and decide if it's worth it for you.
Love it. And Nick, where can the people find the Ethersport newsletter and follow you on Twitter?
Oh, yeah. I'm ethersport.substack.com. And on Twitter, I'm nmitchell11. So pretty easy. I'm trying to work my way over into Threads as well, but I haven't found any other Sorare people on Threads. So
it's quiet over there.
Those are my 2 spots for now.
All right. Well, it's been awesome. Great to chat with you guys. And this has been another episode of Off Base. And we will catch you guys in the next one later.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.